Yo, what is going on, everybody? This is Fanadian here. I'd like to welcome you all to another video. And if you didn't know, this week was cut week for NFL teams. So earlier this week, all NFL teams had to cut down to their 53-man rosters. So I thought a fun video would be to go over what the Dolphins' current 53-man roster looks like and talk about what stands out to me as some of the biggest strengths and weaknesses. If you watch my channel, you probably already know what a bunch of these are because I have been mentioning them throughout the entire offseason. So let's get started here talking about the defense because the defense is probably the greatest strength of the Miami Dolphins team, just like it was last year. And starting with what the strongest part of the defense is, the secondary, specifically the corners. The Miami Dolphins cornerback room is super strong. And a lot of that is because of Xavier Howard, the first team All Pro last year, and his corner buddy here, Byron Jones, who a lot of people have ranked as the second best cornerback duo behind the Ravens corners. If you're a Dolphins fan, you probably think they're the number one corner duo, right? Xavier Howard led the league with interceptions last year, and a big part of that was because Byron Jones was on the other side of the field locking dudes down. And outside of just X and Byron, you have a lot of other just young, talented players. You have Nick Needham, who originally joined the team in 2019 as an undrafted free agent. Originally looked pretty bad, honestly, when he first joined the team, but has slowly improved and gone better and better every season and has now turned into a pretty solid corner and honestly would probably be starting on multiple other teams. You have Noah Igbenogany, who was drafted in the first round last year, still needs to work on quite a few of the fundamental things, but is just, very athletically gifted. And you even have Justin Coleman, who the team signed in free agency this year, a very strong slot corner, has played with New England and Detroit, so has some experience with similar defensive schemes. And they have Trill Williams for some reason here listed as a free safety. Trill Williams was an undrafted free agent this year who joined the team that a lot of people are super excited for because he's just like a physical specimen, and honestly a lot of people were surprised that he didn't end up getting drafted. You can even include, Jason McCourty in this list, the team's starting free safety, because he also spent a lot of time playing corner. So overall, definitely the strongest position group on the team. If I had to pick what's probably the biggest weakness on the defense, it would have to be linebackers, just because unlike corner, we're not really deep at the position, specifically when it comes to like inside coverage linebackers. I feel like if something happens where Jerome Baker ends up getting injured, the team's going to be in a bit of trouble because a lot of the linebackers we have are a bit more of those outside linebacker, pass rusher type of linebackers, and a lot of these dudes are unproven, right? So Andrew Van Ginkel, this is going to be a huge season for him. The team talked about one of the reasons why they cut Kyle Van Noy is because they're big Andrew Van Ginkel believers. They want to give him more snaps, and he's going to be essentially filling in the same role that Kyle Van Noy filled last year. So a lot of people will be watching him. I know personally I believe in Andrew. It's just, we got to see him step up this year and really fill that role. Sam Eguvon, he looked really good in the preseason. Let's see what he does now against NFL starters. Originally joined the team as an outside linebacker, now playing as an inside linebacker. Landon Roberts had a pretty up and down season, has struggled in coverage, always known as more of a thumper. They say that they actually cut Benardrick McKinney because they were so impressed with Landon when he, came back from being injured. And then we got the rookie Jalen Phillips, was drafted to play linebacker, originally played defensive end in college. The team's trying to convert him to an LB. We'll see how he does when it comes to, covering players. So it's not like a bad thing with our linebacker group. It's just that, we got to see these guys like prove themselves first and show that they are, solid players before we could go out there and like say they're solid, right? I'm not too worried about the linebackers. It's just that, they got to prove themselves here. So moving on to the offense, for what I see are like the biggest strengths and weaknesses, and obviously the biggest strength that sticks out to me here is the Dolphins receivers. They have a top 10 receiving core in the NFL if you look here, right? They have a good mix of receivers. A lot of people are instantly going to say the biggest strength obviously is their speed, but I think it might honestly be the diversity of the group, right? Like Albert Wilson, Jalen Waddle, Jakeem Grant, and Will Fuller could make a pretty great, track team, a relay team, And then you got, Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, and Mac Hollins, who could probably make a pretty strong 3-on-3 basketball team. They're more of those like jump ball position contested catch guys, while dudes like Waddle and Fuller are more of those burner yak receivers. So we have a very strong mix of targets. You could even mix Mike Gesicki in there, who has kind of worked himself into being in that conversation as a top five receiving tight end. He's essentially just a really big wide receiver. He lined up in the slot more than any other tight end last year. So a lot of strong targets for Tua to throw to, especially also if you mix in the running backs, right? If you look at our three running backs, Miles Gaskin and Solomon Ahmed's like biggest strengths are pass catching, and you could say Malcolm Brown's biggest strength is pass blocking. So the Dolphins have essentially gone from having like one of the worst receiver rooms in the NFL to one of the best ones. It's just that the biggest weakness that might end up affecting how good our receivers are is the Dolphins' offensive line. Every single person online has been harping on this Dolphins O line and how, a lot of his Dolphins fans are pretty scared going into this season. And I've seen Austin Jackson, who's been getting a lot of hate from Dolphins fans online. There's a lot of people who don't want to give this guy time to develop, or who I think have even given up on him already. Personally, I've mentioned this before. I'm still down to give him some more time, unless he just looks absolutely putrid out there. So we'll see what happens with Austin Jackson. The rookie Liam Eichenberg, is he going to be left guard, right tackle? We don't know where he's going to be playing. And what's been going on with Solomon Kinley this offseason? This is a guy that a lot of people were hoping would, kind of take a leap this year. Michael Dieter coming in as the starting center is very unproven. This is his first time playing center in the NFL. We'll have to see how he does. I'm not worried about Robert Hunt at all. And then Jesse Davis, I'm not too worried about as well. And then when it comes to the depth, it's just, very unproven, right? You got Robert Jones, an undrafted free agent. Greg Little, who the team signed. Well, he didn't. They traded for him this offseason, and the reason why is because this guy's been pretty much injured his whole career, so we'll see if he can stay healthy. So the O-line is definitely the biggest question mark, and if they are really bad, they can really hamper the entire offense, and it won't really matter how good our receivers are just because Tua might not have time to throw them the football. So hopefully, you know, we don't have to be worried and the O-line ends up playing good this season. It's just that, I am pretty concerned about this group. They are the only position group I'm legitimately concerned about on the team here. Next, let's go into another strength here, and what something I think is a pretty big strength is the Dolphins special teams, right? We got Jason Sanders, all-pro kicker last year, almost perfect on the season, was just bombing balls. If you're a team like Brian Flores and you want to execute in all three phases, you need strong special teams. You need to make consistent field goals. You got Michael Pilardi, the punter they signed at the start of free agency, who's known for just bombing balls. I believe he's a left-legged kicker. A lot of teams like these left-legged punters because the ball spins differently and makes it harder for people to catch it. Blake Ferguson, the long snapper who they drafted last year and was solid. And then when it comes to returners, Jakeem Grant, who was a second-team All-Pro last year, and Jalen Waddle, who they drafted in the first round, is also really good at returning. And you could even talk about players like Mac Hollins, who's a very strong gunner. That's why he made the team. And dudes like Sithan Carter and Clayton Fedulum, who made the team based off their special teams play. Miami Dolphins was the number one special teams team last year, and I expect them to, continue to be strong special teams players again this year. And we'll end this video with one last kind of weakness, and that's just going to be running back depth. I was super surprised to see that the Miami Dolphins are only bringing 3 running backs into the season on the team because they had a lot of running back injuries, including these guys Myles Gaskin and Solomon Ahmed, who missed time last year. So I'm really scared we might end up in the same situation that we did last year, even though I am a Myles Gaskin truther. It's just, if he has to take on the full workload as a running back, is he going to be able to make it through all 17 games, as a starter? That's something he didn't prove that he could do last year. Can he prove it to us this year that he could do it? The NFL does have the same like practice squad rules of last year where you could activate 2 extra players every game. So if they wanted to, they could bring someone like Jared Dokes or Patrick Laird off of the practice squad if they wanted an extra running back. It's just that, I don't want them to all get banged up again and we're just trying to pick up random running backs off the waivers every week to try and start like we have been in the 2 previous seasons. So running back depth is definitely something to watch throughout the season, and that's pretty much what I see as the biggest strength and weaknesses. You guys let me know. What do you see? You think it's going to be corners as our biggest strength? Do you think it's receivers? Maybe you're a big Tua believer and you think it'll be him. Do you think we're all right with just 3 running backs? Do you think the O-line will be okay? Maybe you're a big Andrew Van Ginkel, Sam Eguvon, believer, and you think the linebackers will be great. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know how I can improve these videos. Like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more Dolphins content. I'm going to be covering the team throughout the entire season. And until then, thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and hopefully I see you in the next one.